Recording in progress.
This is a reorganization meeting of the Addison Central School District School Board. As such, I, as superintendent, open the meeting until we have a chairperson to whom I'd be delighted to turn over the rest of the agenda. Before we get started, I'd like to start with introductions. We'll start with Joanna, please.
Joanna Dorian.
Brian Bauer.
Ellie Rump.
Mary Heather Noble.
Trisha Allen.
Steve Orzak.
Laura Hartfield.
Sophia Lawton.
Suzanne Buck.
Chip Malcolm. Eddie Faust. Jamie McCallum.
Barbara Wilson.
Tim Williams.
Matt Carenti, Director of Finance and Operations.
Thank you.
Jason Chance.
Oh, don't forget Chance.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Okay. The first item on the agenda following introductions is public comment on agenda items. If you have public comment on an item on the agenda, now is the time to make that known. There'll be another period of public comment at the end for any topic. Okay. Hearing none. I'd like to open the floor to the board for nominations for chair of the board. I'll accept nominations now.
I nominate Barbara Wilson.
We have a nomination for Barbara Wilson.
I'll second that.
Second, Barbara, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Any other nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Mary Heather Noble.
Mary Heather Noble has been nominated. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Just discuss.
Okay. Is there a second? Do you accept that nomination, Mary Heather?
I don't.
No.
Good.
Yeah, thank you, but no, thank you.
But we love you.
Are there any other nominations? I'll close the nomination process then. Now we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of naming Barbara Wilson chair for the board, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much.
Sorry,
Dr.
just point of order. I just want to check in Jason's. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before we continue with the other positions, I just want to thank everyone for your confidence in electing me chair. And I'll talk a little bit more in the report of the chair, kind of some vision I have for us as we go forward. But to continue down the line, let's nominate a vice chair. Let's elect a vice chair. So I'd like to open it up for nominations for vice chair. Chip?
Nominate Suzanne Buck.
Second. Item.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I would nominate Mary Heather Noble.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, seeing none. First of all, let me check to see if Suzanne, would you
Yes.
accept it?
Yes.
And Mary Heather, would you accept the nomination?
I would prefer not, thank you.
Okay. All right. So all those, there's no others, right? I want to make sure we're good. Okay. So then all those in favor of electing Suzanne as vice chair, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Okay, one opposed. And so Suzanne is our new vice chair. Congratulations. Next is clerk. I would like to open up the floor to nominations for our board clerk.
I'd like to nominate Mary Heather Noble for secretary clerk.
Okay,
I'll second.
second. Any other nominations? Anything? You're seeing none? And would you accept that? Okay, thank you. So we can... Sorry.
This is where my talents.
So those all in favor of electing Mary Heather as secretary clerk, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Mary Heather. Next, moving down our list, we need to appoint a truancy officer. Any nominations?
I would appoint the school resource officer.
Right, which is Connor
Souza.
Souza, right? A second?
A second.
Any other nominations? Okay, seeing none. Looking at the Zoom, making sure I'm not missing someone. All those in favor of appointing Connor Souza as our truancy officer, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have our truancy officer. And next, we're going right through the list here. The next, we need to appoint two representatives to the Hannaford Career Center Board. And they'll serve as representatives of the board for a period of a year. And so we need two nominations. So let's do the first one. Okay, Mary Heather.
I nominate Steve Orsak.
Okay, is there a second? Excellent. Do you want to do both of them at the same time, or let's vote one at a time? And Steve, are you willing to?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Wait, let's just do one at a time. All those in favor of Steve Orsak being appointed as the representative of the ACSD board to the Hannaford Career Center board, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. So now let's open it up to another nomination.
Nominate Tricia.
I'll second.
And so Joanna nominated, and Suzanne?
Yep.
Yep, I don't see you, but I thought I heard you. Seconded it. Any other nominations? Seeing none? Yes, Tricia, thank you.
Yes, I would accept it.
Thank you for keeping me honest. So those all in favor of appointing Tricia as our second representative to the Hannaford Career Center Board, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Excellent. Welcome and thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
now that the board has been officially reorganized, I would request that there be a change in the agenda.
Okay.
I would ask for an executive session according to VSA 313A1 regarding labor relations agreements with employees.
Okay. So we have a request, and if you look at Robert's Rules of Order and Open Meeting Law, there is provision to suspend rules to add an agenda item if 2/3 of the body approve of adding an agenda item. And in this particular case, it's related to negotiations. So folks know a little bit more about it. And I believe it's really to give us an update on negotiations, which we need to do in executive session. So, Chip.
Could I just ask the question of why it has to be at this point in the...
Well, we were going to try to add it to the agenda, but they said we had to reorganize the board first. Or are you asking why do you need the executive session now?
At this point in time, considering the disorder it'll cause, because we have to...
No, not now, but at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you
I'm
were
sorry.
talking
No,
about...
At the end of the meeting.
Sorry
So let me
for being unclear about
rephrase.
that.
I'm sorry, that wasn't clear to me.
Yeah, let me
I apologize.
rephrase what the request was.
Okay.
Board member Steve Orsak, who is the chair of our nomination
Negotiation.
negotiation committee, thank you, requested that we have an executive session for the purposes of giving the board an update on negotiations. It would be at the end of the meeting.
I'll second.
Clarification?
Yes,
So at the end of the meeting, so that we would not be doing this during board reports, we would hold this after public comment because we have so many guests here. I
Yeah.
just want to clarify why
Yes.
we're planning on doing this.
And there is no anticipated action afterwards,
Right.
therefore it would not, hopefully not be necessary to come back into session.
right. So I have a motion and I think JV seconded it. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing no other discussion, all those in favor of suspending our rules to modify the agenda to include an additional agenda item at the end of the meeting for us to go into executive session per VSA, help me Steve.
313A1, relating to labor relations agreements with employees.
Thank you for that. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we will add that to our agenda, and that'll be at the end of the meeting, so it won't disrupt the flow of the meeting. All right, moving right along on our agenda, as part of reorganization, we establish our regular board meeting time, date and time. At this point in time, we have been using the second and the fourth Monday at 6:30 of each month as our date and time for our standard board meetings. Any input on whether we should change that, or is that okay to proceed? Steve?
I move that we maintain that schedule and stay on the second and fourth Mondays at 6:30 for board meetings.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Any discussion related to that? Okay,
Well, I
looking,
believe we moved the time of the meeting to accommodate Trish's work schedule. Just want to make sure that that still works with Trish's work schedule.
Yes.
yes, she's nodding and she said yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Excellent. So seeing none, all those in favor of maintaining our current schedule, which is the second and the fourth Monday, starting at 6:30 for our regular board meetings, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So we will continue on our current schedule. Next, we need to approve the meeting minutes. We have two sets. We'll start with the February 12th, 2024 meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Chip. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for February 12th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstention? I'm sorry, any opposed by saying no? And any abstentions? Two abstentions, Joanna and Laura. The next set of meeting minutes are the February 26th meeting minutes. Can I have a motion? Joanna, thank you. A second? Okay. Steve? Any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor of approving the February 26th minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By saying no or nay? Any abstentions? And we have Ellie and Laura again as an abstention. Okay, the minutes have been approved. Next on our agenda is approval of this ACSD bills. At this time, we haven't reorganized the committees, but because the bills were prior, I'm going to have Chip go ahead and provide that update and the bill report. Thank you.
Thanks. Two sets of bills. First ones were read on the 19th of February by Jason and myself. First warrant is for the general fund of $783,797.93. Of that total, $175,000 is for transportation and $90,000 is for teacher retirement costs. Second is a payroll warrant for $456.44. And the third one was a payroll warrant of $954,657.34. Second bills were read on the 4th of March. And the first is, again, by Jason and myself. The first is the general account warrant for $801,932.11. And of that total, almost $535,000 is related to health and dental insurance. Second one is for a payroll warrant of $553.54. Payroll warrant of $954,843.90. Another payroll warrant of $275.13. And a McGilton fund payment of $6,309.53. Finding no problem with the bills. There was one correction that Jason found, and it was corrected of minimal amount. So I make a motion to pay the bills as read.
Second.
Second, okay. Jamie? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the ACSD bills, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the bills have been approved. Next on our agenda is report of the student representatives, and we have both Eddie and Sophia here, so I'll let you start. Excellent.
There isn't a lot of huge information. There's some good news in that the high school hosted a voter registration drive and was successfully able to register 85 students to vote, who hopefully all went out and participated in the primary, but we can't track that. Secondly, the high school will be having a neurodiversity week as part of the unified basketball team and program that's aiming to promote awareness around neurodiversity challenges that those students face, and also how to be more able to work with them and help them out and learn what they go through on the day-to-day so that you can be more helpful. So that's coming up soon. And finally, just a message to everyone. The senior play is coming up this week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Go get tickets if you haven't, because we really need to make some money. So. Yes.
You're in it?
Yes.
Oh,
What's your role?
I play a character named Dewey, who you'll have to come to see the role. It's a very interesting role.
Excellent, excellent. Any questions for Eddie? And I'll go to Sophia next.
I just have that on March 20th from 6 to 7:30, Hope Happens Here will be hosting a trivia night at the high school. So come and bring your friends and play some trivia. And yeah, there'll be prizes and candy and stuff. Support mental health.
And we can be bribed, so. Right, Mary Heather?
Candy always works.
Exactly.
Did you say 7 p.m., Sophia?
It's 6 to 7.
6 to 7, thank you.
Excellent. Any questions for Sophia or Eddie? thank you for your report. Next, we're report of the superintendent.
Thank you. As many of you may already know, April 8th, that we're expecting an eclipse, a pretty rare opportunity for people. And we've decided to have a half-day student day that day, following the traditional early dismissal schedule, for a couple of reasons. The main one being that with all the tourists and traffic, I'm not sure we'd be able to get the buses home, because the eclipse is going to come around that time. So the prudent thing was to schedule a half-day, and so that people can enjoy the eclipse with people at home, or some of us will be at work, we'll enjoy it together at work. But it's going to be an unusual occurrence that we should take advantage of. So I just want to make that publicly known again. More information has come or will be coming from your child's buildings. The second item is free reduced numbers. We often call this FRL, stands for free reduced lunch. These numbers, there's two different sets of numbers for free reduced lunch students. The first set deals with Title I federal programming money. Those numbers are culled from the U.S. Census. The second set is from the state of Vermont, based on some slightly different criteria. So you're going to see the numbers from the feds and the numbers from the state aren't exactly the same. There's some synergy between them sometimes, but sometimes there's not. So these are the numbers that were given to us. On the orange cells you can see there, they're the federal pre-reduced numbers. The ones in the white cells, they're the state pre-reduced numbers. And you can see that there are some differences. Now, also keep in mind on the federal numbers, it's for fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, which means when we say fiscal year 24, we're talking about the 2023-24 school year. The whole FY thing works on the last year of the school year. So I know in education we often throw around things that people don't understand because that's who we are. So I'm trying to explain as best I can what FY24 and FY25 mean. You'll notice in those two data sets, they don't follow the same fiscal years. The feds are doing fiscal year 24-25, and the state's doing fiscal year 23-24. So there's a common year between them, and if you would scroll to that next table, please. Since the fiscal year 24 is the only common year in those two sets of data, I've decided to put those in a table so you can see those differences side by side. Again, the federal numbers are in the orange cells, and the white cells contain the state numbers. So that's just to make you aware. This is also posted on the agenda. It's linked to the agenda. You may download it and do whatever you wish to with it. You'll notice you'll see a cell there that just has some plus signs in it. That's because the state of Vermont doesn't display information when the number is less than 11.
Well, I have two questions. One is, which number do we get our funding based on?
Yep. It depends on which funding you're talking about. So the Title I funding is on the orange cells, okay? And other kinds of things are from the white cells.
Long-term weighted average daily.
Yeah. It's the money we get from the state for our budget, basically, is from the white side.
And then the second part of my question is, since they already have next year's numbers up there, assuming those are projections, do they adjust them according to reality, or do they just predict what next year's going to be, and that's what we get paid off?
That's it, to my understanding. Those are good questions.
Ellen?
What is the different criteria that the feds are using? I mean, these are pretty large differences.
Yeah,
So
well,
is it federal poverty line, or is it?
Yeah, the federal money's from the U.S. Census Bureau. Whatever they ask when they do their census, that's where they gather the data from. The state items come from other things too, like Head Start. If a student is participating in Head Start, they're automatically in that mix. If a student is if anybody in the family is involved with SNAP in any way.
Or Dr. Dinosaurs.
Or Dr. Dinosaur, yeah. Any kind of program like that. So that would increase the amount of people participating typically.
So there's probably like one definition that the feds use, and then the state uses a broader net to define.
That's the way I understand it. I wish I could give you a really good answer on that, That's the best answer I have.
Joanna?
Because it's based on census, but it changes every year, or is it every 10? Is it connected to?
No, the orange ones do change every year.
Every year, okay.
How they change it, I'm not exactly sure, because the full-blown census happens, what, every 10 years, right?
Chip?
The point to make, though, is that with Act 127 and poverty being one of the criteria that gets weighted, it's very important in those types of discussions. So again, to be able to talk to the public about why your taxes are where they are and why we are weighting, the state is weighting students. Sometimes we don't know which data they're using and how they get it. And that's really uncomfortable to me, honestly. And it's also, I think the point to make is on the free lunch, I think you have to be, you have to not apply, but you have to
Fill out a form.
You have to fill out a form, and if you don't fill out that form, then you don't get counted for the benefits of that. I'm not sure what that means now, since food is free, so.
There's still a form process.
Yeah.
Well, that was a big issue this year too, because, you know, you have a form process that's coupled to an obsolete meal program that determines federal grant and state grant allocations. It was not a very good system, which is why they expanded the reporting methods to include those other mechanisms, like Medicaid direct certification is a really big one. And that sort of bypasses the need for reform in a way that's never been done before. In an ideal world, the Department of Taxes would pony up all this information because they have all of the income data that's needed to do what the form does, but they're a black box and they haven't let AOE in on any of that tax data. So for now, Medicaid direct certification is one of the best ways to bypass the obsolete form, and the state's working on like better forms too, so we can gather info from a variety of different sources.
Any other questions before I go back to Ellen? Mary Heather? No, she's had a question.
It's on what Matt just said, but I can circle back.
No, I want everyone to have a chance, and then we'll go back.
Follow up.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it still self-reported information, Matt, what you're saying, or are they using Medicaid data?
Direct certification does not require you to report it to the school. It's
great, okay.
The state reports it to us.
It's not the self-reported, it's not relying on the self-reporting of the forms at all. They're using other data from different systems to cross-match.
There's still a form process.
Still a form process.
But the form is one way, right? And as is direct certification. So if you are directly certified, you do not need to fill out a form. But if you fill out a form, that's another way to gain certification. I think a lot of the uptick on the state numbers are based on the direct certification.
Okay, Mary Heather.
So I have two questions. One, just to clarify, so the Title I money, which is federal money, that is based on this expanded data or just on the form?
No, the Title I money doesn't come from the forms at all.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the follow-up question I have has more to do with some information you sent to the board maybe a few weeks ago about the sort of snapshot, the school snapshot in performance and with respect to equity numbers and an equity index. Do you have any sense of how free and reduced lunch factors into the state's calculation of equity index?
I think it's a significant factor in the equity index. Because the equity index is getting at historically underperforming subgroups, for lack of a better term. And free reduced population is one of those underserved populations, along with ELL and IEP and things like that.
I guess I just would like to see in the future, maybe in the near future, you know, kind of revisiting that snapshot and looking at, you know, how this all falls together, so that we can look at it district-wide and also just in our learning centers. Because I feel like this is the heart of what our work is. moving forward with the strategic plan work and really identifying, our highest need students and where we should be directing most of our resources.
Yeah, to get at the closing the achievement gap, this is a segment of data that really needs to be scrutinized heavily and resourced well.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, continue.
The next item, I'll turn over to Matt for the Learning Center project at the high school.
So I'm going to tag team this one with Bruce. Bruce, do you want to start by kind of giving a brief overview of the plan and where we're at? And board members, I think you got a handout that lists some of the goals of the Learning Lab renovation project. Those are hot off the press from Caitlin, who included them as a little bit of a snapshot in her position as to the significance of the project. And then Bruce can take it from there.
Yeah, so this is maybe a surprise to some of you. It's been moving along quickly. So Caitlin has been working on developing this learning lab in a space that was underutilized in the center of the high school, which was the old computer lab. And so starting the beginning of the school year, we put up some rolling whiteboards to kind of separate the space out, hopefully plans. And they've been operating this learning lab environment in that space, but it's still open to the rest of the library. So there's a lot of noise that kind of travels in both directions. Then there's not a lot of privacy, if you're working one-on-one with a student. So we've, based on the needs of that program, we've kind of developed this project. It's a relatively small project. They'll be dividing the old computer lab off from the library space using a glass wall, so it still maintains a lot of light and a lot of visibility, but it will isolate them sound-wise. It also provisions for a small office and meeting space on the south side of the space that we're talking about, which kind of butts up against the interior courtyard, if you're familiar with the library and the learning lab. And what we would be doing is, putting up that wall, creating a little office and meeting space. We would put down the same flooring that's in this space, different color, but Flotex flooring, and redo the lighting. And that would, those modifications would make that space more inviting. It would provide a quieter environment for them to be able to work with the students. They've had this program for a while. It's just been in different parts of the building, and it doesn't get as much traffic as they would like, because it's usually either, I think the last couple of years, it was all the way down by the ramp to the Learning Center. So it's difficult for some students to make it all the way from one end of the building to the other and back in time.
Yeah, the proposed site where we're looking at the renovation had been used as a computer lab, sort of a state-of-the-art computer lab back when that was a state-of-the-art thing. Colored iMacs. But obviously, that's a bygone era now, and I think that the space, which is adjacent to the main library, had fallen into being used for table storage and extra desk storage, and really was not functioning well, and prime real estate right in the heart of the high school floor plan. So I think that the desire to renovate and restore the space to its original intended use as a learning hub is what's motivating the project and kind of behind the intentions here. Part of the reason for bringing the matter forward to the board tonight is just strategic and has to do with timing. Part of the hope is that this could be something in the summer scope of work, and in order to hit that timeline or maintain that timeline, it was necessary to look to the board for permission to put a bid out and begin the process of soliciting bids from different construction firms. Because we are still in the RFP stage, we would not be, sort of obligated to follow through with the project. It's just the next step in the process. So that's kind of what's on the table tonight. It's not a hard yes or hard no kind of action that we're proposing. It's just a action to move forward with the development of the project as it has been laid out.
Okay. So can I have what
Actually, yeah, let's do that.
Yes, what I'd like to do is get the motion on, and then during the discussion period, I'll open it up for discussion, okay?
What is the motion going to be?
The action is to approve basically allowing the administration to go out for bid solicitation.
Then I have a definite question. Don't we have to vote to approve the concept before we go after how much it's going to cost in
We
a bid?
discuss it after we put the motion on the table.
Right. So what I would like to do per procedure is to get the action, a motion, and a second, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you.
If that's okay? Okay?
I'll move to approve the MUHS Learning Center project for bid solicitation.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Chip. So now I'd like to open up for discussion.
Jason's got his hand up.
And Jason, you have your hand up, so I'll go with you first.
Okay. I'm curious how we ended up at the square footage of 1,410 square feet. Is that just the existing size of the computer lab, or is that the actual space that we need? Do we need more? Do we need less? How do we arrive at that?
That is the size of the existing space we plan to renovate.
Yeah. But potentially we could need more space for interventions.
Well, we don't have any provision for adding any square footage, so we're going to make it fit in the space it's in.
Okay. Go ahead, Eddie.
Well, it currently is definitely a big enough space right now, just walking by, like it's never too full, so I don't think space should be a concern. Why are you guys, and maybe I misunderstood you, but why are you gonna put a glass wall up between the library and the learning lab? That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It's to make the space feel more open. If you put up a solid wall, it feels very enclosed. It'll also have doors in it that would allow for other uses outside of school hours, where they could open up space between two spaces.
Okay. And did you not say that one of the concerns, though, is like a privacy concern about one-on-one work?
That is one of the concerns, and so that's one of the reasons there's an office and a meeting space going in the back of that space.
Tricia? I'm curious about what sort of input or collaboration there's been between the learning lab and these plans and the library and librarian. As far as, reading through this, it seems like the scope of work, there's definitely some overlap between the library services and what the hope is for the developed learning lab. So I'm curious how that
Sure. We had a couple of meetings that involved the librarian and some of the stakeholders in that space. And Caitlin kind of ran those meetings. We did have the architect sit in on one of them to get input. The architect also gave us a survey, which the librarian filled out, Caitlin filled out. I'm trying to remember, a couple other people had input on the survey as well. And so that's how we arrived at this spot. I know we also talked about maybe having a larger vision, and a phase 2 would be renovating the library. That would most likely be something that ends up in a larger bond when we look at more district-wide projects. And certainly that would involve the library at a much greater level.
Okay, Steve?
I have one point of information and a question. The $320,000 estimate, is that for the study or is that for completing the entire project?
That's an estimate for completing the project.
Okay.
So that was put out to a professional estimator whom we used for the kitchen project. Their numbers came in very accurately.
And the question is, are there alternatives with less expensive materials? Because $320,000 for a capital project is pretty significant in the capital environment that we're in right now.
It would be less expensive to put up a sheetrock wall, but that didn't achieve the atmosphere that the people who had input on the survey were looking for, or the flexibility in the space. So yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest expense. I mean, carpeting, it's going to, or floor covering, it's kind of nominal whether you go with this type or another type.
Sure, but are we talking a difference of $100,000? Are we talking a difference of half? Are we talking a difference
I don't have that in front of me. It wasn't.
Glazing, I think, was a $90,000 item.
Yeah, $90,000 item.
That would be offset by the cost of the drywall.
Yeah, the cost of putting up a standard drywall.
Probably between a $30,000 and $40,000 difference.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate, yes.
Off the cuff.
Other questions? Mary Heather?
I guess I'm curious what the funding source for this is. Is this just the reserve funds that you have discussed using? And are there other pressures that are kind of eating at other more urgent needs, eating at the reserve fund right now? Other competing interests?
Yeah, that's the $100 million question. I think there are no major earmarks other than the Mary Hogan air handling project, potential renovations to 49 Charles, and then this learning lab project that are sort of in the stage of development that we're in with these. And so those, they represent the sort of the most baked projects that we have in the hopper. I think it would be a far cry to say that they're the most urgent projects in the district. We have, tens of millions of dollars of deferred maintenance and things that involve entire systems of entire buildings. And as we've seen from some of the facilities presentations, a lot of those will trigger grandfather costs or sister costs where you start doing one thing and then all of a sudden you're knocking the whole building down. So you can go back and forth on it all day in that regard. I think that as far as this specific project, you're looking at something that's going to make an immediate difference. The need is there. The potential for duplication of effort, meaning you do this project this year and then next year or year or two down the line, the scope of work for the bond initiative comes in and says, all right, we're going to do a massive renovation of the whole building. And we have to knock down this brand new glass wall. Like that's not going to happen, right? So we have to check all of our work in the coming years to make sure that it will dovetail with whatever the bigger scope is, and this meets that condition of not running into future projects.
And I guess just accounting-wise, can you just remind us, or just for the public record, you know, what the size of the reserve fund
Capital
is?
reserves, yeah, I think
You've got
it's
this
over.
320, and then the other items you mentioned, can you give us price tags for those?
Yeah, so I think capital reserves is 3.1 or 3.3 million. I'll get you a real number for the record, but
Looks fine for this.
enough to cover this. We don't have any scope of work pricing on the Charles Ave, 49 Charles. We are anticipating the Mary Hogan project coming in the 1.2 realm, and largely being funded by ESSER. Both the $800,000 investment that's already in ESSER and any potential unspent lines from other investments being sort of consolidated into that project as a backstop to run out all the grant money.
So the Mary Hogan project that you're talking about does not eat much into the 3.1 million, is what you're saying? That's already been set aside?
Correct. Yeah, no, the capital reserves are sort of independent of all of those other projects.
Thank you.
Matt and Bruce, correct me if I'm remembering wrong, but I think the last facilities committee, we also talked about how one reason why this project is moving forward and on the timeline it is partly to do over the summer, right? The goal was to take advantage of the summer recess or break. So it's maybe not that it's the highest priority, but from a timeline perspective, now would be the time to decide if it's moving forward so that it could happen. And then just from the facilities committee meeting, I know that this is not from a professional estimator, but what we had talked about on the Charles Avenue work sounded like it could be in the $500,000 to $600,000 range.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, are we ready for the question? Okay, so we're being asked, the action is to approve the MUHS Learning Center project for bid solicitation, and it's solicitation. So we're not approving the whole project yet. We're approving, letting them go ahead if we approve this to go out for bid, for bid solicitation. So everyone knows what we're voting on. Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Okay, it moves forward and you can go out for bid solicitation.
Thank you very much. The last item in the superintendent's report is approval of appointments and resignations and a retirement as listed on the agenda. I'm asking for a motion.
Okay. Can someone make a motion?
I will do a motion to approve the listing of faculty staff appointments, resignations, and retirements. I can read all the names if you would like for the record, or do you want to just take them off from?
I'll just take them from the agenda, I think that's fine. But just,
Okay, I'm okay with that. Yeah. A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ellen?
Does this feel like, I haven't tracked it, but does it feel like a lot of paras resigning in this wave?
In this, yeah, you have to remember too, we didn't have a meeting. We only had one meeting last month, right? So normally there would be a couple on each agenda. But yeah, it's we have paras that are resigning for various reasons.
Any other discussion? Tricia?
Where does this leave us as far as open positions and where are we?
Well, the ones you're accepting right now, we'll have to fill those. Well, you have to look at the date too. Like for example, there's a teacher on that list that will retire, not retire, but will resign at the end of the school year, so they don't have to fill that one until that. But the others will try to fill right away.
But do you know, because I see there are 4 paras who are leaving in February, March. And then there are 3 coming on, I'm assuming right away. So how many open spaces does that still leave on our, school spring job list?
Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, so we track the job postings on a weekly basis, and this one was 3-1. Looks like total of 17 FTEs.
That are open to be filled?
Open to be filled. I have, looks like 6 para positions, school counselor, school nurse. And again, some of these could be for next year, maybe. I'm not sure if we're posting for current year or next year. Math teacher, science teacher, social studies.
Yeah, some of those are for the teaching positions, a lot of them are for next year.
JV baseball coach.
Yeah.
Jason? Jason?
Sorry, I was on mute. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the rest of these resignations are from Mary Hogan, so what's going on?
I think we'll have people here who will tell you that tonight.
Any other discussion? All right, so we'll take action. All those in favor of approving the faculty, staff appointments, resignations, and retirements, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the list has been approved. Next up is a short report of the chair. So one of the things that I did on Friday or Thursday, after seeing that my quote that I had offered up to the Addison Independent kind of missed, I think, their deadline, was giving it some thought. I thought it would really, be nice if the board could put a statement out thanking our ACSD community for passing the budget. And so I sent an email out with, just what I was going to provide John Flowers, and of course it would need to be changed so that it was from the board, and would really love your input about that and the message. I was going to keep it short, but would be very much open to folks' thoughts on that, and suggestions for, possibly what we would want to say. And I think it would be nice if we listed all the board members as well. It's something that I don't want to take for granted, the fact that our budget was passed. Any discussion? Mary Heather.
I wholeheartedly support the idea of putting out a statement on behalf of the board, acknowledging and recognizing and thanking our ACSD community. I think we are approaching or have approached the limits of their generosity, and I think that needs to be acknowledged fully. And I think that's something that, frankly, probably a lot of boards, but our board is taken for granted until we had big pressure like this. And I think we've got work in front of us, and I really worry about our ability to deal with long-term big facilities items that will require a bond to be passed. I think that's a real problem, and so I think we start the conversation with acknowledgement for our taxpayers' generosity.
Thank you. Ellen.
I would also I know that we've made these points a lot in anticipation of the budget vote. I think they bear repeating, the external pressures that were put on our and every district school board this year. Because I think a lot has gotten missed in news reporting and in quotes from any number of state leaders who are representing it as out of control school spending, not being able to weigh in on every single district's proposed budget, but there were almost no levers that our board could pull to reduce the budget, and they were essentially staff. And just really emphasizing that there are some pretty extraordinary forces that came down on school districts this year So super grateful that ACSD voters supported it, and also just, I don't think that story can be told enough right now.
Great, thank you.
Barbara?
Yes.
Just to comment, you know, we were like an island in a huge ocean. And one of the problems is trying for us to understand why ours was approved and everybody surrounding us who had similar issues, okay? Maybe individually a little different, but similar issues in the same way went down. So it's a little disconcerting not to know. I loved winning it, but it is really disconcerting to try to understand that and to be able to carry it forth. Other than thanking the community for supporting the children in this district by supporting the budget. But I think it's a real dilemma, and it's been a dilemma all along for every single school board in the state. And you look at the numbers from South Burlington all the way down, Rutland, Fairhaven, all the way, it was pretty amazing. So I'm uncomfortable, excited but uncomfortable. So per Mary Heather's, that we got a lot to do to answer this question, okay? I don't know if we can answer it, but to address this issue of where we're at and how we as a district continue to support the district in as fiscally responsible a way as we can.
Can we get air?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Or
can
maybe
someone turn the air on,
turn it
please?
off.
Suzanne, the remote, is
It's
it
up,
there?
it's, no, up on the
It's
wall.
up there, it's on the wall.
Yeah. Thank you. Joanna?
Yeah, and we talked about this when we were going through the budget development process, but we need to keep challenging ourselves to bring the community along with our decisions, and not just keep on keeping that in the forefront.
Agreed. Okay, so any other suggestions as far as wording changes?
It's working. I can see it.
Yeah,
it's working.
We got it.
I'm feeling it. Yeah, have my cozy.
Suppose we open a window over there, we'll have a wind.
Oh my goodness. Any other suggestions for messaging that we should include? Okay, so I think I don't think we need to wordsmith here, but what I could do this evening is take a crack at, there's words that I had used in the message of the chair for the book, that kind of thing, and I'm thinking of a statement that I could pull from that, include, and tweak it, and I will send it out to everyone. But it sounds like everyone's in agreement that this is the right thing to do. Excellent. Excellent. So I will take that action and get something to you later tonight, so you have a chance to look at it. I need if you have a suggestion, I need it back by the morning. So that I can get it into the paper for Thursday. I want to make sure we get it into Thursday's paper. Excellent. Thank you, guys. The other thing I wanted to just talk about is next steps is really working on committee reorganization. So we typically at this period of time ask everyone what their preferences are for committee work based on our existing committees. I know that potentially working with Dr. Baker as we move forward, we may have another committee that gets formed that kind of helps to oversee the strategic plan from a board work perspective, from making decisions, really from our facilities, that kind of thing. So I believe, my humble thought is, and having talked to Dr. Baker a little bit, is possibly in May, that we would have maybe a board retreat that just focused on that, so we can really get that work started. So there, could be some additional work besides the standard committees that we have. So if folks could kindly send me an email giving your preferences for what committee work that you would like to be involved in. And Laura, since you're new, if you want to spend some time, on the phone, going through the different committees, I'd be happy to do that with you so you can make a decision based on what you would like. And then the next time, like the executive committee meets, which is made up of the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary clerk. The week before the board meeting to set the agenda, we can put an agenda item on that committee meeting to basically kind of finalize the assignments based on people's input. Okay? So if you could get something to me by the end of this week, that would be awesome. So that next week when we meet, we can really get the committees formed and we can send that out and start them up again. The other thing I wanted to just talk about a little bit, I've been doing some work on our onboarding procedure a little bit and materials. I've reviewed that with the executive committee as well. What I would love to see is something a little bit more formal, more in depth, and we'll try it out on Laura, right? And Dr. Williams has a great idea that when someone's being onboarded, that they would have the opportunity to sit down with central office staff as well, in charge of various departments to learn more about those, which I think would be an awesome thing. That some of us would like to actually do as well, that's been on the board for a while. And I think ultimately, since a board can have their own procedures, I would love to kind of see an onboarding procedure that we develop so that in the future it's kind of consistent how we bring new members on. It's been pretty wishy-washy, and I believe that just getting together once with the chair and the superintendent isn't really enough. We need to really do more. And part of that will be starting up doing school visits, which everyone would be able to participate in as well, and getting that organized, because last year was an interesting year, right? We jumped right into the superintendent search right after reorg, and really didn't have a lot of time to do some of the good things that had happened in the past. So I want to bring those back again. Steve.
In addition to the formal training and the stuff that's offered by VSBA, something that has been very successful with teachers has been mentoring, and I don't think it would be a bad idea to have new board members have a mentor that they could ask questions at any time. I mean, the chair is a pretty busy position, and someone to be a mentor just for the mechanics of how things work on the board might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, so I'll bring that, this will be a topic at the executive committee, and we can definitely include that in our discussion. Mary Heather.
Can I just make a suggestion following that? I guess if anybody on the board feels like they would be willing to be a mentor, maybe
let us know.
Send Barb an email.
That would be awesome. Okay, the other thing that needs to happen fairly quickly, which is really our work plan. Remember last year we finally had a work plan. And so what I'd like to do is work with the executive committee and the committees, right? To include some of the key activities of the committees in the work plan, so that can really be the basis for helping to build agendas as we go forward and making sure that we cover the right things. You'll see a lot more at our next meeting, really starting to really kick those off, doing the things that we did kind of right last year, building upon them as well. The other thing I'd really love to do is a board critique, where we basically look at what we've done, and there's some standard school board association critiques that we can use to really self-evaluate where we are, to really help identify where we need to work and spend our effort going forward, what's most critical. So just a few things that I've been thinking about. Okay, any questions? Go ahead,
I have a
Chip.
comment, only that, you know, we have 2 meetings a month and multiple other meetings. And I totally agree with you and everything, but we don't want to set it so high that we just never get anything done.
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
it is crucial that we do what you're talking about, but it's also, there's only so much time to do this. And there's many, many things that come up
Yes.
that don't fit in the plan.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
just a comment, having done it for a long time.
Yep, thank you so much, Chip. And, you know, like having, you know, a self-evaluation, then we can really use that to help identify what's the most critical, right? As opposed to trying to attack and take more on than what we should. So we can use that to help evaluate it, okay? And if there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on to report of the board.
Just committee update.
Yeah, committee updates. So at this point, the first Monday board meeting tends to be short updates. We don't necessarily all have to, if you're chair of a committee, we don't have to report out on every single committee. But if there are items that you want to bring forward that were, you know, basically happening in February, that you think is important to report out to the rest full board, please do that at this time. Mary Heather?
I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who helped the Communications and Engagement Committee do some of the budget outreach. I do think it made a difference, and it mattered for us to show up at some of our, you know, regular school events. So everyone who participated and helped, including the Finance Committee, and how much we leaned on you guys to get that information, just really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Jason?
I just wanted to let you all know that the Facilities Committee met a couple weeks ago, and we talked about 49 Charles Ave, which is the central office. And this is a facility that is going to need quite a bit of work to become a usable space in the order of magnitude of $500,000 to $600,000, if not more. So that is something that's in the works. I'll make you aware of that. The other thing that we start discussing is our facilities master planning process and how we're going to tackle strategic planning related to facilities as a district. So if you have input, you know, you can send any concerns or suggestions to me or any member of the facilities committee. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any other committees that would like to take this opportunity to say, provide an update? Steve?
Yeah, just quickly, I would also like to point out that the Hannaford budget passed, independent of all the other school districts, so that was quite gratifying to see the community support for that as well.
Thank you, Steve. Any others? Okay, thank you. Next, we come to the time on our agenda where it's public comment on any topic. First of all, do we have any folks that are attending remotely? So
20.
Okay, 20. Excellent. Okay. So what I would request is that folks limit their comments to at most 3 minutes, right? And yeah. So is there anyone who would like to, Mary Heather?
Sorry, I just also want to say if you could clearly state your name, just
So,
for the
yes.
record, that really helps me out.
Yes, excellent. So is there, yes?
It's going to be the timekeeper, because we do have quite a few guests.
Yes, I will try to do that. Okay, Jamie's going to do it. Thank you. So first comment, yes. Could you state your name?
Certainly. By way of introduction, I am Deborah Beck. I'm a grade 5 teacher at Mary Hoping. Good evening. Several teachers from Mary Hoping join you tonight to express our concern for the safety and academic growth of our school's children. Over the course of this year, Mary Hoping parents and staff have periodically shared their concerns with you regarding the well-being of our students and staff. Because issues involving safety and compromised academic learning continue to arise daily, we are here tonight to collectively ask for the support of our board and the Middlebury community as we seek action to bring about positive change. Before moving on, we wish to explicitly state that we could not ask our leadership team to care more or work harder on behalf of the students and staff at Mary Hogan. We also wish to recognize and appreciate the steps that we've put in place thus far, among them implementing a student response coordinator. This position has made a notable difference. We hope this role will become permanent. However, despite our leadership's tireless efforts and the unwavering care and commitment of our staff, we lack the personnel and systems to adequately meet the needs of our students. Mary Hogan is a microcosm of our society. The behaviors of some Mary Hogan students reflect the increasing volume and intensity of our broader community's mental health challenges. Our principals are frequently called away from meetings or other aspects of their administrative roles to support student behavior. Often, there are multiple classroom evacuations within the course of a week. These incidents not only deprive students of learning time, they also compromise our students' sense of safety. With some frequency, hallways are blocked off. At times, students must exit the building to travel between learning spaces. Our goal tonight is to illustrate the level to which these scenarios and other challenges manifest themselves within our school on a daily basis. Classroom teachers will share how these behaviors detrimentally impact the safety and academic growth of their students. Additionally, faculty members will propose action steps that established research, coupled with our professional experience, suggest will help restore our ability to educate Middlebury and ACSD's children in the safe, supported manner they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Raven Payne, first grade classroom teacher at Mary Hogan. Good evening. The first grade classroom teachers at Mary Hogan consist of myself, Melissa Flint, Adam Gould, and Frankie Wisnowski. Collectively, we have nearly 50 years of teaching experience and extensive training and instructional practices in using a trauma-informed approach in our classrooms. This training includes responsive classroom, district-based professional development, workshops focused on supporting children from backgrounds with trauma, graduate-level coursework with renowned specialists Ross Green and David Melnick, as well as courses on executive functioning skills and working with children with ADHD. In our classrooms, we foster community building and problem solving, and as teachers, we can often address minor behaviors. However, we have seen an increase in highly disruptive behaviors over the past several years. This year, Mary Hogan has implemented an incident report protocol, and the amount of unsafe incidents has been extraordinary. We have seen desks tipped over, chairs and water bottles thrown, materials and student work destroyed, bookcases cleared, as well as verbal threats to both students and adults. Both adults and students have been kicked, punched, bit, and slapped by other students. There have also been a number of times when profanity has been projected through the classroom and halls for other students and classrooms to hear.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adam Gould, one of the aforementioned first grade teachers at Mary Hogan. Pick up where Raven left off. When we have been forced to evacuate a space due to a child having unsafe behavior, we've immediately left our classrooms without teaching materials and found a safe space to work in the school with the rest of the class, oftentimes disrupting another classroom. This happens frequently, sometimes multiple times in a day, with loss of learning time for our students. In some incidents, we've been blocked from leaving the classroom due to the dangerous actions of others. We've also been blocked from returning to our rooms, remaining outside the building for 45 minutes because our entire hallway was closed due to unsafe student behavior. These hallways are closed off for travel for the entire school as we all navigate the halls by taking alternate routes, which sometimes forces us to travel outside unexpectedly. Not only have we had to evacuate from our classrooms, we've also evacuated from common spaces in the school. These examples undoubtedly cause secondary trauma to other students, in addition to the student who is in crisis. We are greatly concerned about the well-being and safety of all the students and staff at our school. Our teaching teams are everything, especially when the teaching is hard. It's how we work together to help each other to teach and support our students. And we couldn't ask Jen Kravitz and Stephen McKinney to be more supportive of us and our students. They've been incredible champions for us, problem solving, and doing the best they can to provide support. They've asked Xanthi Kilzer and Marissa Hennigs, behavior specialists, to facilitate social skill building in small groups during math instruction in first grade. The first grade teachers team teach during literacy alongside academic interventionists and special educators with a tiered intervention system. We are meeting students where they are at and giving them the academic support they need. According to research, we should be seeing a decrease in behavior with a tiered system of support, and that is not the case. We're using a trauma-informed approach in our classroom through our professional development we've had inside and outside of our school. In order that our students can have a space to feel seen and valued, we hold grade-wide meetings, as well as daily morning meetings in each of our classrooms. We've implemented alternative schedules and behavior plans for specific students on top of trying to care for all of our students. Many of these interventions and teamwork approaches are happening at other grade levels as well, as behavioral issues occur across many settings and grade levels in our school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Melissa Flint. I too am a first grade teacher at Mary Hogan, and I believe this is my 15th year. So while we all have been here because we value our work of our children, of working with children, it's a mistake to ignore the fact that these incidences cause trauma for adults working in the school. It can and often does lead to fatigue, stress, anxiety, and more often than we'd like to admit, even physical injury. It's no wonder that we feel like it's an impossible task to fully staff, not to mention retain our own colleagues that we work with. We are all keenly aware that the policy challenges that the board has faced routinely, and we can't thank you enough for your incredible hard work and dedication that you have towards that. We also implore you to hear what we're sharing tonight. There are few professions where that we are willingly tolerate the workplace conditions like this, not to mention like its place one would choose to want to work at or want to send their children to. We don't want to be alarmist in any way, but we want to share with you that we care all about all of our students, our colleagues, and our safety. This is a problem in our community that can't be ignored, and that will take all of us, every single one of us, to share and to work together. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. Other comments? Yes.
I'm Jenna Hogan. I'm a school counselor at Mary Hogan School. So we are here to advocate for the continued presence of a student response coordinator at Mary Hogan School. Since the addition of this position in October, the contribution has been invaluable. The SRC has not only established positive relationships with students and faculty, but has also demonstrated a deep understanding of our community's needs. As a member of the student support team, the student response coordinator has efficiently processed incident reports and provided crucial follow-up with families, staff, and students. The SRC's proactive approach has significantly contributed to creating a supportive environment for our school community. In many instances, this person has been the immediate support needed when teachers called for assistance. The absence of the SRC in January resulted in disruptions in counselor-provided student services and increased burdens on the majority of staff members, most especially our administration. The role of a student response coordinator has become essential in addressing the increasing number of behavioral incidents. For instance, since the start of data collection in October, there have been over 200 behavior incidents reported in the first grade alone. Without the student response coordinator's presence, our counselors and administrators are stretched thin, responding to a higher volume of incidents, leading to disruptions in student services and administrative availability. We believe that maintaining the position of a student response coordinator is crucial for the continued well-being of our school community. The presence of this position not only enhances our ability to respond to behavioral incidents effectively, but also allows other members of our school community to focus on their designated responsibilities. We urge the board to consider the ongoing need for a student response coordinator at our school and to prioritize the well-being and support of our students and staff. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you so much. I neglected to mention in the beginning that if you're on Zoom and you would like to make a public comment, you can do so by just simply raising your hand, and then we'll move you over so that you can speak.
There's others in the background.
Okay, yeah, I just was checking there first, and then I'll come back to the room. Yes.
My name is Jessica McCauley. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Mary Hogan. As already mentioned, we desire the continued presence of the student response coordinator at Mary Hogan Elementary School. Given the issues brought up, we also have other requests as staff. We ask for budgetary and staff resources to provide greater capacity in the Wellness Learning Center at Mary Hogan to support more students. We ask that the board looks intensively at incident report data and social emotional student needs when deciding how to efficiently and effectively use the current ACSD budget. We are not asking you to compromise resources in other schools, but rather to look at adding resources to successfully support the Mary Hogan community through the end of the year while the district continues to plan for next year. We ask for 4 teachers to be maintained at every grade level at Mary Hogan the next school year and beyond. This would assist in reducing class size to restore our ability to educate Middlebury's children in a safe, supportive manner they deserve.
Thank you so much. Yes.
My name is Megan Sears. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Mary Hogan School. And in conclusion, we wish to thank each of you for listening to our concerns and proposals. While we recognize this is a challenging time for school districts financially, we also recognize the far greater costs of not addressing these issues. Thank you.
So I would just like to thank everyone for coming out and reporting to us. We definitely are listening. And so I definitely appreciate you coming to the board meeting and providing us input.
Can I just ask a quick question? Would someone be willing to email the board your statement? Or the
or the collective statements.
Yes, that would be awesome. Excellent. And you can just send that, to me, bwilson@acsdvt.org.
I'll just make one comment.
Yes, Chip.
We would love to have this discussion, but we can't in this setting, okay? So it doesn't mean we aren't hearing you.
Yes, definitely.
So, I think you need to understand that your time and efforts and everything else is exemplified by your being here, but this is not a discussion session rather than a presentation, so thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Chip. Mary Heather.
And I would just advocate for sending the statement to the full board.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And
our contact information is on our website.
Exactly.
Just go to board, about the board, and we're all listed there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
That would be helpful.
Okay. Any other public comment? Yes. Mary.
Hi. My comment is not related to Mary Hogan, but I wanted to be sure to give them their time together.
State your name.
Oh, sorry. My name is Mary Slozar, Waybridge. I wanted to comment on a few things. One that is related to Mary Hogan. or not related to Mary Hogan per se, but to the challenges that these staff members have highlighted, is that I think it also highlights perhaps a need for the district to revisit how they approach behavior. The district tends to view behavior as behavior problems rather than peeling back the onion. And there's a lot that we could learn there as a district to do differently. I also want to highlight that one of the solutions that has happened at Mary Hogan this year has been moving some students to other smaller schools, and that has proven to be very beneficial to those classrooms at Mary Hogan as well as to those students in other schools. And I've heard our administrators refer to this as kind of the multiple pathways that we have in our district, that we have a big school, Mary Hogan, and we also have these other schools that sometimes are better fits for students and their needs. And I just want to highlight the importance of that diversity in our school community settings. The other thing I want to mention is about neurodiversity. It's actually Neurodiversity Celebration Week that's coming up next week. It's not Neurodiversity Week. And this is an important distinction. The week is about recognizing the naturally occurring neurodiversity among us. Just like we have multiple races, multiple ethnicities, multiple body shapes, we also have multiple types of brains. And the week is about recognizing that diversity and celebrating it. We're not raising awareness, we're not trying to accept. You can think, like, would you say that about someone's race, that you're willing to accept or become aware that they're black or brown or something? We would never say that. And we shouldn't be saying that about children with ADHD, with autism, or any other kind of brain type. So I hope you'll join. All of our school communities are doing something to recognize it, but it's not a district effort. We hope it will become one in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Hi, my name is Addie Munster. I'm a student at Middlebury College. First of all, I just want to say I have been saddened to listen to the teachers and counselors from Mary Hogan. I too have experienced the education system and how it doesn't always prioritize student health, and I empathize with you, and I urge the board to not just hear but listen to what they have to say. So today I wanted to speak specifically on racism. I have lived in Vermont my whole life and see how racism exists in this state. I'm part of the Vermont Student Anti-Racism Network, and we're a 501c3 run by students that works to achieve education without racism through education about racism. So we sent out a survey a while back, and one of the data points that we got is that 60% of students regularly hear racial slurs in schools. As a particularly white state, we need to do better at educating, organizing, and coming together to fight this issue of racism. Jamie McCallum invited me here to speak, he's my professor, about this, and offer for Vasarn to come to Middlebury and do a presentation. So we bring students and adults in to discuss racism from K to 12th grade. And we read books, we give out surveys, we do presentations, and we have discussions around race and diversity and inclusion. So if you're interested, just let me know, or I can give you my email. We'd love to just be involved, especially now that I'm part of the Middlebury community. I'd love to be involved in the school system and help you all and be a part of making a change. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Okay, and we have one online.
Hi, I was just trying to unmute. My name is Amy Platt, and I am a teacher at Salisbury Community School. I think this is my 26th year, and I want to reach out to my Mary Hogan colleagues who bravely stepped up tonight to talk to all of you. And I wanted you all to know that the outline all of those stand behind colleagues at Mary Hogan and the work that the board is doing and the work the administrator is doing to help those kids in crisis, but all the kids in our classrooms that are affected by the issues that Mary Hogan is feeling deeply, but also have ripples out in our outlying schools as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
My name is Megan Shaw. I came and spoke with you guys a couple of months ago. I didn't come here today to prepare to speak at all. I came just in support of the teachers and the staff. But in listening to what they had to say and in follow-up from being here before, when we initially came, my husband and I came to speak to you. We have 2 children at Mary Hogan, a 2nd grader and a kindergartner. We came to speak on behalf of our kindergartner who was really struggling with the environment in his initial classroom. Since our meeting, he has had a physical threat, physical contact. Somebody hit him, made a very violent death threat, and it has been months long of getting him to the point where he's now moved to a 2nd kindergarten class, which we didn't take that move lightly. And he is doing far better in that class. But he is still dealing with the residual trauma of what happened initially. He's a 6-year-old. We're not only taking him out weekly to get outside counseling, which has been extremely beneficial, but at a cost of losing out on academic and social time. But he is going through a huge 2nd transition in trying to acclimate to a new class, a new teacher, and something that should have never happened. It was the best decision that we made. We're grateful every day that the school was supportive of that decision. But I think in support of not only the children in crisis, but the adults in this room and the other children that are being severely impacted. And these are young kids, and this is going, I feel grateful that my husband and I have the knowledge, the understanding, and the finances to provide the resources that he needs to help him move beyond this. But there are a huge population of students that don't have that. So I hope you all hear what the educators are saying and take it to heart, because there's a large community that's being impacted.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Once again, we really appreciate it. Next on our agenda is adjournment. Oh, no. We added an agenda item. I am so sorry. So at this point in time, I need a motion for us to move into executive session.